Well, ladies and gentlemen, the cancel pigs have struck yet again. We have another example of what's happening in the American comic book industry, and it's very clear that the industry is not as good as the mainstream shills will love you to believe. They will love you to think that the American comic book industry is thriving just as it was prior, and nothing is going to slow it down, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We are seeing shops close down left and right. I have personally done videos of a few shops that are either being affected by this whole nonsense or have actually closed down. And now we have another example of a shop closing down, unfortunately, due to the fact that the comic industry is in complete and utter trash on the American side. So it says from Fandom Pulse, Mark Miller reveals yet another local comic shop shutting down, an ominous start to 2024 for the comic book industry. So let's get into this article, guys, from Fandom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing to my manga channel. The links are in the description box below. I would absolutely love to see you there. It says, in a sad turn of events, Mark Miller revealed today that Comic Town in Ohio closed down. The owner of Comic Town in Ohio, Ryan Seymour, was one of the retailers that Miller actually interviewed in December last year, following the cancel pigs piling on a comic book retailer, lamenting the quality of Marvel and DC Comics. The retailers and Miller warned of the decline in comic book sales and pointed out to the public that it's being gaslit by insiders and shills into believing that all is fine within the industry. And we know this to be the case, okay? We know this to be the case. There is so many different examples of evidence against the fact that the American comic book industry is successful. It's not, okay? It's very clearly not. It is in the gutter, and it is getting absolutely destroyed by all of these activists who have taken over the writing jobs, the drawing jobs. Every job within the comic book industry for the American side of comics is completely taken over and is rotten to the core. It's very unfortunate, and the only thing that is even coming close to trying to save American comic books is the independent scene. That's the only thing that's happening right now that's trying to save it. Otherwise, it's going in the dirt. It really is, and it's unfortunate to see something that had such a legacy, something that was so strong, something that had so much pop culture reference that are so powerful to this day, be completely destroyed in just a few years by some fake activists who have absolutely nothing better to do than to write themselves into every single character they create, make every single thing gay, make every single thing have a social message, make everything completely boring for people who are just looking to pick up a book and be entertained. It says, Miller tweeted today, gutted to hear Comic Town in Ohio has closed down after 30 years in the business. Owner Irish She 39 flew me out for a signing years ago, and both he and Vantage and House remain pals of mine to this day. Good luck in your next venture, Ryan. Awful to see great stores like this closing. And coincidentally, Ryan was on my retailer roundtable last month talking about the drop in the direct market for American comic books. Really sad about this. Comic Town was a total delight to visit. That really is quite unfortunate, man. It seems like a very big store. It seems like something that a lot of people who are into comics would probably have liked to go to, and it's quite unfortunate. And you know what? It shows the state of the industry, and it's sad, man. People like this are affected day in and day out, and these assholes over in the mainstream comic book industry, they don't give a crap. They don't care about what happens to these people. They think they're all bigots. They think they're all racist, and they would love to see more of these shops close down. If it was up to these comic book activists, they wouldn't sell their comics to anybody. They would just be subsidized by their employer day in and day out, make absolute garbage, and not care whether or not it sells. But unfortunately for people like Mags Visaggio, they find out very quickly that you cannot pay your rent with social clout. No matter how much you may want to, you can't, okay? All those likes and retweets about being trans and being amazing aren't going to pay your rent. And he found that out the hard way multiple times, as I mentioned in my last video, going into detail about all the times Mags Visaggio has begged for money. It says Comic Town in Ohio was a renowned haven for comic book enthusiasts, situated in Columbus, boasting a vast inventory of comics, graphic novels, and collectibles. This comic shop stood out for its diverse selection and welcoming atmosphere. Comic Town had a commitment to fostering a vibrant community. Comic Town hosted events, signings, and gaming nights, which attracted fans from all walks of life. The knowledgeable and friendly staff contributed to the store's appeal, providing recommendations and insights. Comic Town offered a haven where passion for comics was celebrated, whether you are a seasoned collector or a casual reader. That's actually pretty sad, man. It really is. It's sad to see people who are so passionate about this stuff lose everything, all because the stuff they're passionate about has been co-opted by people who don't give a shit about what they're co-opting. It's really sad. The closing down of Comic Town in Ohio marks the end of a long-standing cultural and community hub for comic book enthusiasts. It signifies the loss of a unique space where people could explore diverse comic book selections, attend events, and engage in the vibrant geek culture. The closing reflects broader challenges facing brick-and-mortar comic book stores in an age where comic book insiders like Mark Waid and Donny Cates would rather attack retailers than admit that Marvel and DC Comics have been producing subpar products. And you know what? That's where we're at. That is essentially where we're at. They would love to just protect the old guard, never admit that the mainstream media industry is wrong. No, no, no. We can't admit that. We can't have them admit that the mainstream comic book industry is destroying everything. That's just not allowed. We got to make sure they're protected. We got to make sure we're lying to them and telling them what they're doing is a great job. Keep doing it. Even though we know this stuff is not selling, we still got to lie to them and tell them everything's okay. That's not how this should work. And it's ridiculous that it's even allowed to exist for this long. So hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, things start to look up for the American comic book industry, but I highly doubt it considering this is not the only shop to have closed down recently, and it's definitely not the only shop that's going to close down for the rest of the year. We're going to see more shops close down that are selling majority American comics. Does it suck? Is it unfortunate? Absolutely, but this is where we're at, and they're going to have to admit it at some point or another that they are failing miserably. They're not going to admit it now. They're probably not going to admit it in the next 6 months, but they're going to have to admit it at some point. It says not only does Marvel and DC IP holders not care about the characters of these IPs, but they don't care about the fans, nor do they care about the retailers. We at Fandom Pulse are also gutted to hear about the closure and wish Ryan Seymour all the best in his future endeavors. Yeah, man, I hope that Ryan could figure something out. You know what I mean? Maybe he opens up a manga shop at some point. I really don't know. It would sure be a hell of a lot more profitable than the garbage American comic book industry, but still, I really just hate the fact that these people who do these things, they're never going to experience the same kind of repercussions for their actions, right? All of these woke writers barely ever get repercussions for their actions, and you got people like Max Visaggio being saved online by people donating to this retard because he doesn't know how to write a good book and he can't survive as being just a writer, so he's got to go work another side job or whatever the case would be and beg people online for money at the same time. These people don't care, man. They don't care because somebody always ends up bailing them out at the end, and it's quite unfortunate. So hopefully we start seeing people who are causing this mayhem start getting repercussions for their actions, and I'll be here for that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.